So, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Usman Obaid. I'm a registered migration agent at APG, and today we'll be talking about NSW. We'll try to make sure we um, uh, basically make sure all the queries are answered as much as I can, obviously in the limited time we have. But I will try to talk about the new rules, the new occupation list, and the implications. And for some people, we also have to discuss what backup option they have, right? Because things have changed completely, right? So we have to also think of the backup. Like if you're not eligible or it has become extremely hard for you, then what do we do, right? So talk about that as well. Okay. Now, all right, yeah. So I think let's begin then. Okay. So first of all, disclaimer: this will be for the information purposes only, and we'll try to make sure every information is correct. But as you are aware, sometimes the changes are happening, sometimes there are updates which are not announced. So we will try to make sure we'll update it as with time. But as of today, this is correct. Okay. So guys, first of all, let's quickly discuss the 190. That the 190, how it works is basically still the same rule before, still the same rule. The eligibility criteria has changed a little bit, but the process has remained the same. Meaning, you apply for the expression of interest, then you wait for the pre-invite if you meet all the criteria, and then once you get the pre-invite, you apply for the nomination application. Okay. Now, apart from that, once the nomination application is approved, then you apply for the visa application, right? So this is like a standard 4-step process that has been ongoing for NSW for last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, right? So it has not changed, but the changes that occur basically they're usually the occupation list and the experience required, right? So that's the first thing. Now, in the 491. Now, first of all, let me make it very clear: 4 is not finalized. All right. So 491 will be finalized, but it will take some time. Meaning, 491 generally, I'll tell you. So what I've written is based on what we know or what they've announced, or basically, let's say, uh, the information of the pieces of information that are available. Now they have not finalized it, so it could be like in the next week or 2 or 3 maybe, but it will be announced probably within in the next couple of 1 to 2. So what we know for so far is that for sure there's going to be 2 pathways. Okay, the first pathway you have to go through RDA, meaning Regional Development Australia. So there are 14 RDAs in NSW. It's from basically Illawarra region, Newcastle region. We're talking about Far West, Central West. A lot Southern Inland, Northern Inland. There are 14 of them. So we have to look at their criteria and what they want from us, right? This is the first thing. So in that criteria, what they have done, what they seem to have uh, thought about is they are combining the stream 1 and 2 from the last year, meaning they will bring in a combined uh, uh, basically rule which is under pathway 1, meaning if you're working in your own occupation in the regional area, and number 2, if you have graduated in the regional area in the last 2 years or 1 year, these are 2 pathways combined into pathway 1. That's what it seems like right now. I still not is finalized, so it is subject to change. But as of right now, the wording they've used, the little piece of information they've given us time to time, this is what it seems like. Now, the pathway 2 is most probably going to be invitation based. So when you saw the invitation, the occupation list, you must have noticed there's a lot of even in 491 there's a lot of experience requirements and everything. So that's why pathway 2 is going to be very effective in terms of getting the invitation based on invitation basis pathway, basically based on your points and your experience. So it will be invitation based. Okay, so that's the 2 main pathways. Now, if we sorry, so if we go with the general criteria, this is simplified. 190 will be point based as we expected, and experience will be needed, and deemed experience. We are not talking about all the experience, only the deemed experience. We will come down to that as well. And number 3, offshore applicants are also eligible. So this is like after a long offshore applicants can apply. Now 491 will be again living and working requirement will be there. There will be another pathway which will be for graduates of regional NSW, and the third, or let's say pathway 2, would be points and experience based, right? So these are the basic requirements we know so far. Now coming to the occupation list. Now let's take a look. And also I know there must be a lot of questions, a lot of different occupations, a lot of let's say queries that will be there. I will try to answer as much as I can, and also try to make sure that we are basically making sure that we have all the occupations covered as much as possible, right? Because obviously there are like 100 occupations. It's not easy to cover all of them, but obviously we will try to cover most of them. So first of all, let's look at the 190. So if you notice at the top, there's written points and experience. So points will mean how many points you need within the state points. So basically, if it's 85, meaning it should be 80 plus 5, meaning 80 points of your own, 5 points from the experience is as if it means experience. Now, deemed experience means that any assessing body has given you. All right. So that's what is meant by experience. Now, if you look at the main occupations, there's a lot of occupations which are not very common. You know, like if you go with, let's say, school principals and like, you know, transport service managers, conference event managers. Now, these occupations which are very fringe and very obscure, like very few people actually do these occupations. So that's why, because the supply is very low, they have brought it down to 1 year experience or 0 experience. Now, any occupation which a lot of people, let's say finance manager, it's 110 points, meaning you have to be at 105 points of your own, and on top of that, you will have 3 years of experience, and then you can apply for it. Basically, indirectly telling you like it's not gonna work. Now, when you go with the other side, journalists need 80 plus 5 points, meaning 80 points of your own, and they need 2 years of experience. But again, last year journalists were getting invited at only 80, 85 points as well without any experience requirements. So they were already in a very comfortable spot. So they lost quite a bit over here. Accountants and auditors again at 100 points in 3 years. I think this is not a surprise for anyone at this point. We all pretty much knew that this could happen, and this did happen. This is as expected. Now, other occupations that you look at, these are very one of the occupations that one of the good things they've done is they brought in marketing. They got in marketing again. That's one advantage you have. So, but apart from that, most occupations is the mainstream occupation. You know, when you talk about nursing, IT, engineering, they are being hurt. So let's look at the other occupation now. Life scientist 95 plus 1. Life scientist could be microbiology. There are like 4 or 5 occupations within this group. University lecturers need 85 plus 5 and 2 years experience. Pharmacists again 3 years experience, so that's pretty much gone, unfortunately. Audiologists, there are very few of them. Again, like very few people you come across who are audiologists, and they're like at 0 point they get the invitation, so that's also pretty good. And if you look at the nurses, registered nurse, 85 for 1 year with 1 experience. So for nurses, it's quite, if you think about it, they've been preferred, and they are basically getting a lot of advantage with how the things are working. So registered nurse, basically, essentially what it means is you just need 80 points of your own. And for registered nurse, that's quite simple because most of them are in the right age bracket. Most of them are with at least 7 each in English school, and most of them can do NATI because the kind of community that focus on nursing specifically, they all focus on NATI and English and all those sort of things. So they already usually have that kind of points. Now, in terms of experience of 1 year, that's pretty much nothing because most nurses that I can come across or you will come across, they will all be working in their own field. So nurses are basically a big winner over here, clearly. So that's one thing. Now, within the IT field. Now, IT is, if you notice, it has been hurt badly. Business analyst, 100 points plus 2 years experience. Then you go with multimedia specialist, web developers, 105 plus 1 year experience. Software engineer and security specialist, network engineers, 100 plus with 2 years experience. Now, for IT, 95 points mean that you would have done 8 each, NATI, PY, and 1 year of experience in Australia, and only then you can reach 95 points. And on top of that, you get 5 points for the state. Only that's the only way you can get 100 points. Now, there are applicants who are at 100 points. I also have such clients, but they're still a kind of a minority. They're not the majority of the applicants. So that's why a lot of IT people, especially the people who are not at 95 points or 100 points, or they getting the level, they are moving across to different states like Victoria, South Australia, West Australia, Queensland, right? So we'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about the backup and what out of the bad news, what the good news we have. We'll come to that as well. Okay. Now, if you look at solicitors, again, 9 points with 2 years experience, and social worker, the big winner, 70. We have 70 points with 0 experience. That means it's a big advantage. So was it welfare workers and everything. Now, 17.5%, unfortunately, is at 90 points with 3 years experience. So that's a big loser, unfortunately, this time around. But again, this has been a very good occupation. So eventually it will come back, but it will take some time. Okay. Now let's move to the last part. Now, for 190, the last occupation, if you notice, they're all trade occupations. Okay. Now, trade, except for automotive electrician, which is at 65 points, and let's say vendors, who is again 65 points, 0 experience, most of the trade occupations have got 3 years experience now. From bricklayers to metal workers, to machinists, to roof tilers, to like plumbers, electricians, most of them need 3 years, you need 1 year experience. So this is a big problem, and especially when you go with the trade, the most occupation amongst all applicants is chef and cook. Okay, so when you look at the chef and cooks, they have gone up to 3 years of experience. Okay, and with 85 or 90 points depending on the occupation. Now, most chefs find it really hard to get to 85 plus 5, meaning 90 points. So that's why it's again a major cause of concern that if you're going with something like chef occupation, you will have to consider the fact that it will get very competitive, and the kind of people doing it, they will be at 90 points. They will be at the level that you will frankly find very hard to reach, because you will need superior score, you will need you will need NATI, ATs, experience, everything to reach that level, and that is not easy for everyone, because some people are not at the right level, or some people, the only reason they did commercial cookery or any trade course for that matter is because they want to go with the high enlisted course. Right? Now, apart from that, guys, can you turn the speaker on?
For available waiting space on your long service, 65 hours.
Yeah. So okay. So now
Average hour 65. 7 days.
I can't complete that. So I think someone has their mic on, so can you turn it off? It will be very hard for everyone else to listen to. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now, apart from chefs, cooks, hairdressers are again a big winner, because they need just 55 points with 1 year experience. Again, a very good operation. It has been a good operation last year as well. So that's another good news. Now, when you go with the phone angle, there's a lot of occupations.
Yeah. How many days?
Okay, I think I found the right person. Muted them. Okay. So with 491, occupations are pretty much similar, but they've added a lot more occupation there as well. So there's some occupations which you will not find over there, which let's say Tyler, some occupations which are not in 190, they are in 491. But they get then again, like recruitment consider for them, that is available in 491 but not in 190. But the challenge is something different. With 491, if you are sacrificing the 190, going with the 491, you have to know that is it going to be easy or not. Now, if the points are at like for example, if you just go with something like auditors, accountant, like 115 points, meaning, and some people ask me like, how is it 115 over here, 110 over there? So basically, with, for example, if you have 100 points, if you're applying for the 190, you get to 105 points. But if you're applying for the 490, you get 15 points on top. That will put you at 115 points. So that's how it differs. Okay, so it will be a little, it will seem higher, but it's actually, if you minus all these points of 15, you'll know that the actual points are not way too high. They're still unmanageable. Okay, so these are generally like if you notice the engineers as well, again, civil engineers 105, 90 points have to be there at least. Electrical engineer 95 points, electronic engineer 105 points, sorry, 95 points have to be there at the very least to be able to apply. Mechanical engineers, again, now here's the interesting part. Mechanical engineers have been removed from 190. Okay, they've been removed for the 190, but they have not been removed for the 491. So this is like a big, I would say, upset, because a lot of mechanical engineers were hoping that they will get the invitation this year, but they have to now wait, or they have to move to a different state, right? So this is how it's going to be. Now, if you go with registered nurses, again, 90 point, meaning you must have 75 points of your own and 15 points for the regional area, and you have to have worked for 1 year, and you're eligible for the 491. Now, it's yet to be seen if they will let you apply from Sydney or other states or only the regional area, but that's something they will be announcing shortly. All right. So in terms of IT, with IT, if you notice, again, business analysts, software engineers, network engineers, all are at 100 points, meaning all of them have to be at 95 points of their own to reach the right level. So it is challenging, but it is still possible. Now, if you go with 491, again, there's quite a few occupations, but obviously we'll discuss one by one. Now here's the thing. This is like a simple version of who's the biggest gainer and who's the biggest loser in this whole new announcement. Now, the biggest gains were with registered nurse, who need 85 plus 1 point, 85 points with 1 year experience. Teacher needs 70 points with 0 experience. ICT support needs 100 points with 1 experience, meaning they need to have just 95 points of their own and 1 year experience, and they can apply for this 190. Social workers 70 plus 0, welfare workers 70 plus 0, community worker again 70 plus 0. Trade motor mechanic is the biggest, I would say. When I end this, they have 85 points, meaning 80 points of their own and 5% of the state, and they need 1 experience, which they will have because they've been working already, right? Most of the trainees are working. And then we're talking about automotive electrician. Again, this is like one of the lowest point of vision. The only problem with automotive electrician is the assessment is a little tough, because you need to have done a light vehicle or electrician motor vehicle to get this operation. So it's quite tough, but again, this is just for the 190, not for the biggest losers. Accountant auditors expected 3 years experience required, so we don't really hope that much is going to come out of it, because very few people are at that certain level. Mathematician, statisticians 90 plus 2, which is again a big problem. Last year they were getting invited with only 85 points, and that was it. No experience required. Now they do need 2 years experience. Mechanical got removed, as we discussed already. Other engineers, most of them need 100 points with 1 year experience. And IT, most of the other IT other than support engineer need 100 points with 2 years experience. Trade chef has gone to 90 plus 5, and trade cook has got 95 plus 5, 3. So basically, these occupations are going to be tough. Okay, so this is one thing. Now, if we go with visa location, so Subclass 190 is going to have 7160 as announced for this year, but here's the best part. They are considering to increase the seat for the 190, and we could be seeing this number rise up drastically. So let's wait for Subclass 192. Let's say in the next couple of months, we could have a lot more seats coming in. Even in the 491, we have 48.900 seats, which is still a good number. So that's again, see, this number, if you think about it, they're like pretty much 12,000, close to 12,000 seats, which is pretty solid if you look at it. Now, this number means that it has already doubled as compared to last year, almost doubled. Like last year, pretty much close to 8,000 level. This is going to almost 12, 13,000 already. And then with incremental seats coming in, it's touching 14, 15,000 at least. So we will be at a very comfortable level. So number of seats, quite a bit available. So that's why I think NSW will have to reconsider. They will have to make it easier, and they will have to rationalize how they invite people, because the way things are going right now, if it stays like this, people are going to stop moving to NSW, or people are going to the talented people are going to move out of NSW as well. So that's another factor. Like NSW will have to ultimately make the route slightly easier, because if they lose a lot of talent, then they'll have to reverse really hard, meaning they have to make it way too easy for people to attract people in. Like Brisbane struggled. Like Brisbane made the rules hard. For a lot of people from Brisbane, a lot of graduates from Brisbane, they moved out to Melbourne, to Sydney, to other states, and now they are trying to attract them back in. Right. So that's another thing. Now, these are some of the frequently asked questions. Will NSW eligibility change? Okay. Now this is a very hot topic right now. Well, on their own website, on their own, if you ask them directly, they will say that we'll only announce once at the beginning of every year. But we all know that last year they announced in July, but then in December 2021, they actually made a massive change. They put in a 3-year requirement for most IT and most trade occupations. So they have a tendency, so they can change. So never say never. Now, the second question, can you apply for 190 after being invited for the 491? No. So this time, even last year, especially this time, they are being very careful with their seats. So they will be a lot more, I would say, careful in inviting people, and they will not invite you if you've been invited to apply the visa. Okay, now we are not talking about someone applied the ROI or something. We are talking about once you're selected, once you're about to lodge a visa and you choose not to do so, then it's a problem, because for them you use up their one of the seats and you do not utilize it, so you're not committed, so they won't invite you again. Now, the third question, what employment does NSW accept? Now, if you remember, I told you that we will talk about the deemed thing. Now, deemed eligibility require experience. Basically, when you say 2 years experience, what does it actually mean? That's something. So it means deemed experience. Now, deemed means at what date are you deemed to be a software engineer? At what date you're deemed to be a journalist? At what date you're deemed to be a statistician, right? That depends on your assessing body. For example, if you're an IT graduate, if you've done offshore, if you're an offshore applicant and you have done, let's say, BTech in computer science, and then you have done 2 years experience, because the offshore profile, 2 years will be used to give you the skill assessment. So if you've done a BTech and then 2 years experience, at the end of 2 years, you'll be considered to become a software engineer, network engineer, whatever you're doing with. That's the date, cutoff date, and after that, every experience can be counted. Okay. Now with IT, slightly different. With onshore, if you've done an Australian degree, then the moment you complete a degree, every experience after that can be counted. So it's like a bit like offshore or onshore case. So we have to look at the cases differently. When you go with something like, let's say, statistician or any occupation which is generally assessed through wet assess. Now, wet assess deducts one, most cases. Sometimes you can deduct 2 or 3 years depending on how your assessment has been approved. So, for example, if you're going with marketing specialist, but your let's say your experience is not enough. Okay, let's say you're going marketing specialist, but your experience is not enough. So what then? So they won't give you a positive assessment. Now, in such cases, what they say is that if you're doing a marketing assessment, but your degree is in HR or degree is in, let's say, accounting for them, for that matter, they will say, okay, fine, then show us 2 years experience, right? So they will increase the experience based on your qualification. If your qualification is far away from your occupation you're applying for, so they'll increase it from 1 year to 2 years or 3 years, depending on the occupation. Like management consultant, it goes from 1 to 3 years, certainly, right? So that's what matters. So we have to be careful in seeing what are deemed. Now, usually on wet assess and ACS assessment letters, very clearly written what is your deemed date, from what date onward you can claim the point. So I would say anyone who's confused about that, go to a skill assessment letter, look at it, check that date, and only claim the points from that day onwards. Otherwise, you cannot claim the points, right? So that's another thing. Now, again, what is meant by deemed date? So I think I've already answered. Like the deemed experience, I've also answered above, and deemed date is the one which is written on your skill assessment. Now, fees for NSW nomination. Now, fees for NSW nomination is basically twofold. If you're going with 190, it's only $300. If you're going with the 491, it can range, but it's mostly $800. Okay, so that's just one thing. Now, obviously, so there's so many things we can talk about, and I think we have quite a bit of messages here. I'll start answering as much as I can, but just letting you know, in case your answer is not answered here or something, feel free to contact us. Because of the time constraint, we might not be able to obviously I can probably have half an hour more. I can give it 1 hour more, 1.5 hours more, but there's a limit, right? So obviously there are 100 people listening, so we cannot talk about each 100 cases, but obviously we have to pick pick up some cases. So just to give you an example, like how to look at it, right? What to think about it. Now, in terms of, let's say, uh, basically the plan. For some people, NSW is still a very good option. They have enough points, they have ample experience, they have everything sorted out, so they don't need to move anywhere. They just stick to the guns, stay here, and that's it, nothing more. But some people, they have to move. Uh, they can't fool themselves that it will eventually change. Well, it can eventually change, but then again, NSW is the last state to apply, like announced it in rules. All the states had announced in August and July. NSW the last state, meaning they have seen all the other states. They've seen Victoria invite twice. They've seen Western Australia invite. They've seen Canberra invite. They've seen all these invitations out, and then they announced. So they knew very well what kind of seats they have, what kind of environment they're stepping into, and the job summit was already done. So it's very well established. The seats are coming in. Migration needs to be boosted. It was very abundantly clear. So they still chose to bring this rule. So then we have to take it as it is. We cannot expect if it made easier, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. But if it's not made easier, we cannot blame them. This is what they've announced. We have to play with that, right? So we have to work on that. So now, some people, if you have to stay, that's fine. Great, you do the criteria. Some people, if you have to move, then don't wait around, move. But there are certain class of people who I would recommend to wait. Like meaning, for example, if your occupation needs 2 years experience, you're almost like 1.5 year down, and you only 6-7 months to go, and you know you can do that on a 408 visa or a 407 training visa, or 482 visa or student visa. Like you can do all of that on a bridging visa. So as long as you know that you can complete those 2 years, then stay. Then you can stay here. But then again, you have to take ownership of the risk that they might not change, or they will. That will only make you eligible. That doesn't mean, that does not guarantee your invitation. Remember that. So one of the critical parts is, just because you're eligible does not mean you will be invited. Because if you add up all the people, even the people who meet the criteria, there will be like 20,000, 30,000 people. They don't have that many seats available. So essentially, this is just a filtering process. That's it. So if you see some occupation at like 100 points, doesn't mean you touch the finish line, you get the invitation. It means that touching the finish line makes you eligible to fight. And then you have to fight based on your points and then get them right. So it's not an automatic process, because I've heard some people say, oh, bro, all good. Now I'm peaceful. I'll tell them, no, you still have to do NATI or PY, get it done, because just because eligible, you cannot be entitled that, oh, I will get the invitation, right? So that's the right approach to have. So, all right, guys. So let me take a couple of questions. I think there's quite a bit of questions here. So I'll just try to answer as many. Okay, and also please don't hate me. Don't get angry if I don't answer all of them, because I'll have to choose different types. Otherwise, like if I answer the same IT question for network engineers, that's all I'll do, right? So I need to cover all everyone as much as possible, right? All right. So okay, so Aurangzeb Khan is asking what's the current points requirement for 489 visa. Aurangzeb, buddy, 489 has been closed for the last 3 years. 491 is the one you want. Okay, so 491 is the one we will be applying for, and I already told you, like, it depends on your occupation. Okay, or you work in a regional area, or you're graduating from a regional area. University of Wollongong, University of Newcastle, University of New England, one of those. So yeah, so you definitely need a consultation. All right. So now Saif Abdul Muiz is saying good. Okay, fine. Pavan Kumar Shah is saying, Pavan, I can see you. Hi. He's saying, hello, sir. Thank you for organizing this. Really appreciate it. You're most welcome. And I think let's go with some hard question. Okay. Okay, Muiz iPhone. He's saying, how can we check how many EOIs are there in DHA system for specific and scope occupation? Good question. You can check, but you have to check basically the data NSW, basically immigration releases. But the problem with that data is it's usually 3 months or 2 months old. They don't give you the latest data. Now, in your case, you would need the latest data. Otherwise, it's of no use. Because, for example, people move, right? People move, people act on it, people get the invitation, people get out of the queue. So if you get a data for the last data available, from what I remember, it's like 30th of April. Now, 30th of April was like last migration year. A lot has changed since then. A lot of people have moved to different states. Some people move to NSW. So that data is good. It's a good indication. But ultimately, you still have to get an opinion from a migration engineer, education consultant who can tell you, like, people are moving in or moving out. So if you see 100 number, so don't be happy there's only 100. Maybe after that number was announced, and by the time its data is released to public 3 months later, maybe there's 4 times the people are in the queue. So we have to get an idea from a migration agent or education consultant who deal with these people, so they'll know very clearly the trend, right? So that's one thing. Now, the marketing is there, but marketing needs experience. So if you have 3-4 years experience and you can get assessment and then some experience left, marketing is going to be pretty good. Now, Nim Khati is saying what a social worker. So social worker is again a big winner, big winner. If you Nim, if you're doing social worker, then what can I say? You're in the right pathway. You're basically in the right place. Just try to get the best point possible. Just because you see 70 or 85 written on it, don't trust that. It's there. Yes, you're eligible, but then still you have to fight other people, right? Then how you fight? Get the 80s, get the 90s, because some people get lazy. I don't want to call them miser, but some people don't want to spend money for the PT. So just get it done, because you essentially need to beat everyone else. And one more thing, remember, just because you have enough points, and if you get better points, that means if they need 85 and you bring in 90 points, that means you'll get the invite quicker. So why not get it? Save yourself 2 months, right? So that's the best part. What if they change the rule in 3 months? And if you have better points, you potentially get plus 10 points each. Get it done. Who's stopping you? Because see, you spent, and let's say if you're doing social work, you might have spent $50,000-$60,000 already, depending on the college, but pretty much. So if you spend $50,000-$60,000, then why not just spend 400 more to get the PT done, right? Those kind of things. Now, I'll go with a medical professional. It depends. Farooq, if you ask me medical professional, it depends on which side of medical profession talk about. There are like 4 or 5 different types, but most of them are easier now. ICT manager, same with ICT. Yes, project manager. Yes, that's the one. Priya Chadda is saying, what would be your recommendation to students last semester of Master of Accounting and working support worker? Would it be beneficial to move state or change course? Priya, I think for you, the best thing would be that you stick to NSW, okay? Because you're doing accounting. In your last semester, I wouldn't ask you to change your course right now. Just complete the course. You already spent the whole all the money anyway. Just complete the course, pass it, and then try to do diploma of community service or some one of those courses, so you can get assessment through ACWA, right? So that way, your life will be much easier, because if you do community service, the points are very low, 65 points. That's it. So just because of experience, experience alone is not going to help you. Let's put it like this. You need the right qualification, an accredited pathway, right? That's all. One thing. So Surinder is saying, I have one experience as a network engineer, but I do system admin work as well. My company is ready to give me expertise in support, and I will get skills assessment. Okay. So Surinder, yes, you can get a skills assessment as ICT support engineer. The only catch is, generally, ICT support engineer is in a very specific kind of work. Like if you're a network engineer, you are working on a slightly more senior level. Okay, so you can get a support engineer as well, but then you might need to, again, if you already got your skill assessment done as a network engineer, for example, and your employment is also done. So they already know your points. They already know that exactly Mr. Surinder is doing X, Y, Z, right? So now if you go again with the employment letter, they'll say, oh, I'm doing A, B, and C. That's the problem, right? The good thing is support and networking has a lot of overlapping duties, so we can play on that part. But then again, it has to be as truthful as possible, as close to the first letter as possible. Or if you tell me that you never applied for the network engineer employment assessment, then that's fine. Then you put the best letter forward, exactly as I said, manager, so engineer, and get it done. Okay. Farima saying, how many years can you have? Farima, there's no limit. You can have multiple UIs, but ultimately, yeah, why would you have, if you for my clients, even if I have one UI, if I'm doing everything right, you'll get the invitation. So multiple UIs are not going to change the game for you. Let's put it like that, right? Now, Yukti is saying, okay, Yukti already answering. Aslam Mandavi is saying that I'm a mechanical engineer, going to in March with 80 points, fixing apply the 1st of April. Good. Not at all. It won't affect your application. Aslam, you're all good. You're safe. You got the invitation, you applied the visa. Once you get the nomination, you're locked in. So you're safe. So nothing to worry about. Now, Vivek Sharma is saying experience must be full time. Yes, it must be full time. We are talking about, but okay, but full time, less, and in the NSW definition is 20 hours a week. Okay, so that's considered full time. Even for points you claim, 20 hours per week is full time. But if you're going with, let's say, employer sponsored visas, then it becomes 30 hours per week. So it depends what visa you apply for. But for our purposes, 20 hours is enough. Lily saying, do you need experience for 491 for nursing if you graduate living in this area? Lily, see, the thing is, they have not actually announced the requirement for the pathway one, with which you will be eligible if you're studying in the regional area. But from what it seems like, if I look at the old cases for the last couple of years, if you've graduated from a regional area, especially nursing, you are pretty safe. You're pretty safe. Hirarif is saying, good evening. What would you suggest? I have studied MBA and PA, fetching diploma service in non-accredited. Where can I get student extension, new diploma service with lead college, some exemptions? Yeah, so Hira, it will be tough, but it's possible. Ultimately, we have to, I don't know why Hira's name seems very familiar. Anyway, so hi, yes, I think I saw you. Okay, so Hira, so please, I would say that we can have a email us. I'll show you our email. Email us. We will check your course, because obviously if you've done majority of your course already, then you're stuck. So we have to see like how many courses. If you're not done at all, then we can work on it, because ultimately it depends on your course and everything. It depends on,
yeah. About to finish now. Course
About
is finished. 4 days. Yeah, it's finishing. Yeah. No, I just won my AAT, 6 months ago. That's why I'm a bit scared.
No. He lost AAT. Like
I just won my AAT diploma. Yeah, 6 months ago. Yeah, I'm a bit scared.
The problem is, okay, this can still work. Sorry, here I'll just let you know one thing. It will still work with non-accredited as long as you do 1 year experience post-study. Then it still work. But then again, it's going to be tight, with your AAT going on everything, and then you might even need to go in a federal review or something. So but that's something contact us. We'll make it as simple as possible for you. Okay. So yeah. So I'll move to the next question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone is saying, math skills have been in accounting, but working as HK facility at AIM. I've sent you 15 point reason. Then should I do now? Also, I'm doing. So, Suman, I think for you, working alone is not going to be enough. Points should be fine. I think mostly not a big problem. The main thing will be complete your diploma nursing, get a certain enrolled nurse, and then it will take some time, right? Now, in terms of IODG or PETO, okay. So IODG, engineering technology had not been removed. It is there, and if you go to the 190 list, the code, because they put a group name, they don't put occupation. So group is 2339. So just search 239, you'll see engineering technology is still there in NSW, but the points obviously are quite high. So that's the main challenge.
So I didn't get that.
So yeah, so what it means is basically the occupation or engineering technologies is still in the, all right, for the 190. The main challenge is the points. The points are high, but still in the list.
Okay, I think the point's like 100 now, right?
Correct. 100 with experience. Yes. So that's why it's going to be challenging. And there's a lot of competition in engineering technologies, because any engineer can apply for it technically, right? So that's also makes it quite tough. Okay. So let's go with another. Vinanda is asking, I came to Sydney 2 months back for studying master networking, MIT. My query is, how can I get PR fastly? And this is what is the pathway for that? Should I go to using study? Is beneficial? Okay. So simple. Okay. So I'll tell you what, Vrinda, I think for you, the best thing would be, I think you messaged me directly. But anyway, so the message, a simple answer for you would be that you can change the course, and I think it's better to change the course. But if you just came to Australia, then you have to obviously wait for 6 months to change the course. But that's the right thing to do, because IT, if you're doing IT and NSW, it is going to be tough. So you should consider moving to other states like Victoria and West Australia. By the way, guys, everyone, I will be discussing backup options available, right? So don't worry. Like after this question, I'll answer those as well. Like if not here, then where, right? That's also a question. We'll talk about that, and I'll keep it very simple. Okay. So yeah, before the try to answer as many as I can. Okay. Okay, ICT support technician can be assessed. No. So Arbaz Khan, ICT support technician is assessed through TRA mainly. Right? So the hardware technician, ICT technician, TRA. TRA means you have to have 3 years experience at least before you can make it work, right? So that's one thing. Now, I'll try to, there are a lot of things, I'll just try to keep it as simple, like, cool. Okay, any interesting question? ICT graduate 1 year experience, like, again, like the people who are on the fence. So if you have 1 year experience with 100 points, I would say, Hassan, you should consider moving because it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough. The competition is intense. Okay, so that's why, and you have better option available. I'll discuss that later, just in a short while. Okay. Will it be? Tamina Apreen is asking, will it be a wise decision to go for 482 as an accountant? Well, yeah, if you can get a right sponsor, then obviously 482 is a very good option for accountants. But be careful. You need to have an eligible employer, and you need to have met at least 2 years of experience requirement. And when I talk about the eligible company, it is a company which will have, let's say, at least $1 million revenue and at least 5 full-time employees. If you meet that criteria, the company meets that criteria, then yes, they can sponsor you. And if you have worked for 38 hours per week for the last 2 years or part-time for the 4 years, depending on that.
Sorry, if I just ask you again, the turnover should be 1 million, you said?
Correct. Yes.
And 5 to 10 employees.
5. Minimum 5. That's it.
Minimum 5. So that's two need to, check out first, right? These 2 requirements for employer.
Yes, but see, you will pretty much know any if you have 5 colleagues or you're in the company which has at least 5 employees, just figure out are they on contractual basis or employment basis, like TSN basis. Look at that. If they have 5 people or more, that's good. And usually, if they have 5 people, usually are very unlikely they won't have $1 million. So they'll probably have $1 million as well if they have 5 people. So so you can ask about it. Yeah, they'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's possible. It's a very good path. Because 482 can help you get a 186 PR in the future, right? So that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So can I just add on one more question with it?
Yes,
If you don't mind. Yeah, my 485 has expired, so I'm doing the leadership management course, which I have the visa 1 year more. Do you suggest me to switch the course like something which is demand list at the moment, like easiest?
To be very frank with you, like I think this is like a personal thing. I'll be honest with you. I literally not stress enough how much I despise leadership and management. It's one of those courses like I feel like you're literally burning your money.
Yeah.
So might as well do diploma of community service. If you don't use it, you don't use it. But at least it's going to be a little expensive. Obviously, like let's say leadership manager you can get for $5,000-6,000 a year. You might get diploma community service for let's say $7,000-8,000. But then again, the differential is very like tiny, $2,000, right?
Yeah.
Depending on if you go with us, we give you a good package, so you won't even hard that much. But the point is, it's better to have a course which will give you at least something. Because sometimes, remember this, sometimes it is for everyone. Sometimes you don't realize the time is passing. 1 year, 2 years will pass, you realize that it went away. So
Yes.
rather than putting because you already have 482 going on for yourself, why not just have a backup ready? And if you have to spend, let's say, 12,000 across 2 years, then why not just spend $15,000-16,000 and get the right course, right? So that's the logic I go with. But again, everyone is different, but I think this is like the right way to think about it. So I think you should go with try to choose something simple and effective and cost effective as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Community
Thank
service.
you.
Definitely go for that. Yeah.
Hey, I had a question.
Bro, I'm trying to answer whether the people write written questions, so I'll try to answer those because
Sure, no worries.
We'll get very confusing otherwise. Okay? Thank you so much, bro. Yeah. So, okay. So, Kundana saying if you have 3 years experience post qualification to get a positive assessment, are all these 3 years counted as work experience while applying for PR? Yes, very good question, Kundana. No. So basically, if you have 3 years post qualification experience to get the assessment, means that's a deemed date. So for example, if someone graduated in 2012 and they use 3 years to get the assessment and they use all the experience all the way to 2025, so 2015. So that experience is not going to help you for the points, because for 189, yes, you can count, because 189 there's some policy change, you can claim it. But for 190, NSW specifically mentioned you cannot claim it. You will only claim anything which is mentioned on the wet assess letter. Okay, and usually they will, if they cut 3 years, they'll write that date. Let's say 2015 July, they'll write 15 July 2015 onwards you can count. So that's how it will be. Okay, so I'll go down. I think it's Ganesh Patni is saying, if I have 2 years experience, but my skill assessment took 1 year out of it. Okay, so Ganesh, 482 is a different volume. So because what I'm telling you mostly for 190 and 491, 482 first of all does not even need a skill assessment unless you're going with the trade occupation or certain occupation. Majority people like they don't need a skill assessment for 482. So so technically, don't worry about that. Even they take away 1 experience, it will matter for the 186. Remember that. So for example, if you have 2 experience, you will have 3 experience in the future. You can apply for the 186, but 186 will need a skill assessment if you're going with the direct entry. So that's one. But again, that's a different conversation. We'll have it some other day, or you can.
Yeah, I have just one query regarding that. So there is for 482 short term, there's a new TRT way where it can directly convert into 186. So for that, I just wanted to ask you that, like, initially it says that if I get a sponsorship for 482, but for I think it's only for 2 years that it will be converting into 186 for TRT.
No. So you still need 3 years of TRT. I'll tell you so basically 482, if you go in the short term, you can apply an extension like 2 years, and then another 2 years. You still get the TRT of 3 years. The main challenge would be that we'll have to look at your dates. Basically, if you were affected by the pandemic or not. So that's one factor you're missing out.
No, like if I'm just telling you that initially I was in 485, but now if I'll get 482, will I be eligible for TRT 186? Because although I will not have 3 years of experience.
No. So okay, let me make it clear. For TRT, the experience is not the main thing. Experience is the main thing, but on the 482 visa, not on any other visa. Understand? So ultimately, you have to have experience on the 482. When you go with a direct entry, then you can have experience anywhere, like on the 485 or whatever. But on TRT, you need to have experience on the 482. That's the main problem.
And how many years of experience they're looking for at the moment?
3.
3. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll go with Bhupesh. She's saying I have 10 points, including regional points. So mainly 95 zone. I have been working as an accountant for the last 11 months in a regional area. My TA expiring December 22. What do you suggest? Okay. A very loaded question, Bhupesh, because it's not going to be easy to answer that. But see, you have 95 plus 15 points, so you're points-wise you're fine. But then again, the challenge in accounting would be that there's last time I checked, there were 6,000 accountants for the 491 in NSW. Yeah, so I can check again, but that was like 30th of April data. But 6,000 accountants, like bro, like there are only 4,800 seats available. Like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We can. This is one of those things you can try. And sometimes people get lucky as well, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Okay, unless you have an exceptional profile that RDA will love. Because RDA is one thing that we cannot predict, because invitation depend on points and everything. RDA means that you make them happy. Meaning, if you're living in one RDA in which they just love accountants or people who are living there, yeah, then great. Some RDA like people with families, so they have different angles. So we'll talk about that. But anyways, but yeah. It's a tough question. I would say stick to it for now, but open a backup. If you're single, then try to study something else. If you're married, then ask your wife or partner to study something different. Like, you have to play around a bit. You have to be a bit safe, because this is not going to be a very safe option, right? So I'll go down, like, I'll just randomly pick 1 or 2 questions because I think it's going to be very tough. Okay, I need something interesting. Okay. Malika said, okay, I'm living in Queen Bian since December 2021, and I have an assessment in software engineering. Okay, I have 17 points overall. Okay, my hand just right now, except for PD NRT, and the P will be complete. But next month, do I have to stay in NSW or will I move to another state? Okay. Okay. So Queen Bian is like the last suburb of NSW. Okay. So this is a guy. So for those who don't know Queen Bian, if you live there, it's like within 30 minutes. Like it's attached to Queen. Like it's the last suburb of NSW and attached to Canberra. So you can apply for Canberra and NSW both if you play right. You're smart about it. But it's going to be challenging, Malika, no matter which way you look at it. Okay. You have 70 points. If you have, let's say, if you add PT, if you did not mention PT points, so I'm assuming you get a whole 20 points, you get 90 points, and with NATI, you'll be getting you 95. So yeah, so points I think you'll be pretty solid, yes. But then again, the problem will be the experience. Now, if you are making software, you will need quite a bit of experience, and that alone is enough to make it NSW very attractive for you, right? So that's something you have to look at. Okay, guys, so I'll just try to go down. Sorry, I just have to do that thing. I'll just try to. Anish Karki is asking for ECT, just completing a course is enough to get skill assessment for ECT. Anish, if I'm not wrong, I think you mean early childhood teacher. That's the one you mean, I think, right? If like mostly that's the only one. If you're talking early childhood teacher, then yes, you need course completion. Okay, and at least 1 year study if you're doing from Victoria, or if you're doing from NSW, then 2 year study, and then based on that you can get the assessment done. Yeah, so basically in this is assessed through we're talking about AITSL. They will assess you, but you need at least some bachelor something before that, and then you do this along with the fact that you need good English score. 2.7, 2.8 in IELTS academic. So it's kind of tough in English terms, but doable. Okay, so yeah, so that's one thing. Now, okay, and Abdullah asked the best question of them all: shall a fresh IT graduate move or stay? Thanks. Okay, so Abdullah, I think it's I think pretty obvious. If you are an IT graduate and a fresh one, that means there's no way you will have the kind of experience like 2 years or 3 years. You won't have the experience, right? You will get the experience later on. So in your case, it's imperative that you try to get to a stage where you can get a better chance of getting the invite, right? So now comes the, as per I think Abdullah answer and what other people are also waiting for, what's the backup? Okay, so if NSW, like obviously every case is different, I would recommend you guys to come for an appointment or something, because we help you as a migration agent to make a personalized plan. Like, every person different, right? Some people are strict about 190, they don't want 491. So for them, we make the plan accordingly. Or even if it's not possible for them, we tell them on the paper it's not possible. But we have to make the plan accordingly. So come for a consultation. Obviously, if you get a specialized advice, it will tell you exactly what to do, what path to follow, because then I can discuss your case one-on-one, and there's no one in between, so I don't need to hide anything or be safe or politically correct or something. I can directly shoot at you like what you should do or not do, right? So that's another factor, because when you ask question over here, is I see this a lot of time, people message on Facebook that, oh, how many points for electrical engineer? That's a silly question. Why are you asking a random company over the internet? Why not you just book an appointment? Even if it costs some money, do it. If you can't invest $80 or $100 for your own future, then who will, right? So the point is, the main idea is that you try to make sure that your basically you have a proper plan ready, right? So that can only happen if you talk to the specialist people who don't know, or people who are commenting on, like if you're going to XYZ Limited company and they're asking them how will the accountant get the PR, they won't know the person who's answering. He's not a migration agent. He's not even an education consultant. Probably some receptionist or marketing staff who are doing it for them. I would never have the time to sit on and comment on the comments. Okay, no one, and no self-respecting agent would have. So for that, come for a consultation and care for your future. If you don't care for your future, no one will. Simple as that. Now coming to the solution. Now solution is depend on different operation, different solution, but generally there are 3 states that have come on top: South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland. Okay, because these states have most of the occupations open between them. Okay, and even Victoria, certain occupations. When you go with Western Australia has 3 criteria: Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule and graduate pathway. So they basically generally 3 different occupation lists, but there are a lot of occupation in this, and most of the occupation are there in the Schedule 2 as well. Meaning, so you can apply from Sydney, you can apply from Melbourne, you can apply from here directly to Perth. You don't even need experience over there. So for example, the main criteria for them is, for certain occupation which are in Schedule 1 list, you have to have 1 experience anywhere in the world, whether in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Australia, at least 1 experience, and then you apply with the offer letter. The second pathway, that if you're in the Schedule 2 list, which are there's quite a bit of occupation, quite a bit. In that case, you don't need anything. You just need to apply for it. If you have the right points, you'll be shortlisted, and based on that, they will ask you for the offer letter. The challenge is getting the offer letter in that 14 days, which is usually not possible for most people. But if you've been doing your homework, because if they might give too much time, you should have getting your offer letter ready. You should be starting to apply for other jobs as well, right? So that's something you should consider. Now moving to the other state, Queensland. Queensland is straightforward. They're inviting you for offshore and onshore. For onshore people, it's straightforward. If you want 190, work with them with 6 months in your own field, and that's it. If you're going with a 491, work with them for 3 months in Queensland regional area in your own field, you're done. So, and they've been very positive right now. So that's one option you have. There a very realistic option that Queensland is willing to invite, because they had last 2 years were they short of seats. So they said they're coming in with vengeance. They're bringing a lot of people in. So they're trying to attract a lot of IT people. You won't believe I have like 3-4 IT graduates, like, not graduate, like already working in the field, who already got the offer from while working in NSW from the same company, moving to a different branch in Brisbane. So that means there are a lot of jobs available. So you should have that advantage. So 6 months seems a lot, but it's nothing greater scheme of things. Now when you move to the other side, which is South Australia. Now South Australia is not too good for IT. I'll tell you why. Because for IT, what happened is South Australia put this requirement in for most IT operations, that business analyst, software engineer in networking, that you have to have 2 years of working experience over there. So if you're not a graduate over there, then you have to work for 2 years before you become eligible for the 190 in Adelaide, or you work for 6 months and you can apply for 491. So they're pretty much clear. They're trying to give you a message that just apply for the 491. No, don't go for the 190. Now, if you, so there's a IT is not very attractive, but some other question like enrolled nurse, civil engineer person is perfect. Trades is perfect. So it depends on operation, but South Australia is like a mixed bag. It's pretty good, very solid, there are a lot of pathways. There are people who studied there, they have their pathway. Who did not study, they have a working pathway. If people who are very talented, they can apply from here directly. So there are a lot of different pathways, offshore pathways, 5 or 6 pathways over there. So that's the best part of South Australia. At multiple levels, you have protection. So you don't get screwed over completely, right? So they don't do what NSW does or Victoria does. So they have this protection that they're very stable. And they've been stable for the last couple of years, as far back as I can imagine. So that's pretty good. Now, apart from South Australia, we have another, so we have covered Queensland, we covered West Australia, we covered South Australia, now we're covering the Victoria, the crown jewel right now. So what they've done is in Victoria, that because obviously there are a lot of little things I have to explain you, but I obviously for that my colleague had already done the Victoria nomination, so I just keep it simple. For Victoria, essentially, there are 3 things. Number 1, you have to have the right points. Number 2, you have to have the skill job, preferably in your field, but if not, then anything within level 1 to 3. Number 3, you have to have the right setting. So these are the 3 factors they look at. And there's no minimum state requirement. So basically, you just move there. If you have your first pay slip in 1 month's time, you can apply for that role. Okay. So Victoria has become a very attractive option. There are so many occupations open there, so many, pretty much everything open there, and they already invited 2,000 plus people in the last 2 months. So, and they have enough seats that they can go like this for 1,000, 1,100, 200 people per month, like bulldozing it through. So they have a lot of seats available. So yeah, so NSW not even started inviting, and this is announced last week, 3-4 days back. Victoria already had 2 great rounds. So Victoria has suddenly become a very good option. So if you want to consider, then yeah, consider Victoria. Victoria is a good option, but then again, make sure you have a skill job. It doesn't have to be in your own occupation. Like for example, if you're a software engineer, you're working as a software tester, level 3, 2, I think. That's it. That's still good. So occupation not a problem. A skill job is a problem. If you're working in the same occupation, you have a preference. And they have obviously mentioned a couple of occupations which are preferred. Let's say chefs and cooks will be preferred for the 491, even with lower points. IT, technology, STEM field, basically engineers and everyone, they will be considered for the 190. They will preferred. So those things are obviously there. Now, one of the most interesting things in doing early childhood teaching, just do that 1-year course. So anyone who wants to do 1-year course and is good in English, or let's say they have 4 years of education in Australia already, you can go with early childhood teaching. There's 1-year course, and there's pretty much 60% is pretty much online. So you can that's one thing that can make your life much easier, where the invites come in 80-85 range. So which is pretty achievable, not too hard, right? So that's one thing you can go for. So those things are there. Okay. So nursing, diploma nursing is there. We have those options available over there. So ultimately, when you go with Victoria, Victoria has become a very good option. Queensland is a very good option. But then again, call comes down to for 190, 6 months in Victoria, sorry, 6 months in Queensland give you the 190, 2 years in South Australia, or 6 months for 4 months. Western Australia needs the offer letter, and when you go to Victoria, they look at everything. They look at the quality of the applicant based on points, the salary, and the level of employment, basically. So this is like a simple solution. North Tasmania, North area, they've always been there. They're okay. They're good. They're doing my people. The only problem with that I have with Tasmania, North area, that they are like, they don't have a huge amount of seats available, but also the fact that the jobs are very hard to get there. So a lot of people struggle with jobs. So that's why for me, like, I want my clients to go to the best states, and I get stuck because in Tasmania and North area, they're not like, they are good jobs available, but not everyone gets it. Like 2 in 10 people get it. But if you go to Victoria, yeah, 80% will get it. So it goes like that. So guys, I think that was a productive session. Thank you all for yes. Okay, so Malika said you last thing. So Malika, you can see, I think, our address. Sydney, just email us at sydney@asiapacificgroup.com, or you can just call our main line, just search Asia Pacific Group. We are in the center of Sydney, and we have branches in Melbourne, Adelaide, Reservoir, which is part in Victoria, and Philippines and India. So contact us if there's anything we can help you. We'd love to help you. And consultations, I would say do that, because you have to invest in your future. Okay, anyone who's good at their job won't do it for free. Remember that. Anyone who knows what they're doing, they won't give out that information for free. We do this webinar session because we want to get across to as many people as in a short time, because there's no way in hell I can do 100 people in 1 hour. This is the only way. So I have to reach across to people so they understand the basic and they don't make a mistake. At least that's, even if 5 people, even if 1 person does not make the mistake because of my webinar, my job is done. Right. So that's how we think about it. So anyways, so guys, email us at sydney@asiapacificgroup.com. We'll assist you with anything possible. And thank you so much for attending, guys. I'll just close it now and have a good night. Take care.